The GMMK Pro is a 75% layout, gasket-mounted, full RGB keyboard with a rotary knob for $170. When I had originally bought mine, I didn't get to do as many mods as I wanted to, so today I aim to fix that. What's up guys, thank you for joining me. I'm your host Sam, and as you may have guessed from the intro, today I'm doing 4 different mods to my keyboard to make it sound and feel a little bit better, and I'm bringing you along for the ride. The 4 things I want to change are as follows. First of all, I want to change out the switches from the Gateron Blacks to the Gateron Milky Yellow Pros. I also want to lube and film those switches so that they feel and sound a little bit better. I also want to put foams under the stabilizers so they're not as rattly. And then last but not least, and probably my favorite part, I bought a brand new set of keycaps. I chose Gateron Milky Yellow Pros because first of all, I really like all the sound tests I've heard of them, and second of all, they're really inexpensive. It's $4.20 for a bag of 18, and technically I only needed 4 bags, although I bought 5 bags just to be safe and have extras. I am super excited to open all the stuff that I ordered, so enough talking, without further ado, let's rebuild this keyboard. Okay, so first of all, I need to take apart a bunch of these switches. I'm going to do about 90 of them, but if you have the GMMK Pro, you really only need 83 of them. I just like to have extra in case anything goes wrong or anything breaks. Mechanical keyboard switches have 4 main parts. There's the stem, the spring, the upper housing, and the lower housing. I also decided to buy a lube station this time around. I bought mine from KBD Fans. It came with some extra tools. It also came in my favorite color, and I'm just really happy with it overall. The first time I lubed my switches for this board, I didn't use a lube station, and it was a complete and utter nightmare. In my opinion, staying organized and neat and tidy just makes this so much easier. Also, you should be aware that the Gateron Milky Yellow Pros are lubed from the factory, but I decided to go back over them anyway just to prevent inconsistency. Switch films are supposed to make your switches feel more consistent. It increases the tightness between the upper and lower housing, but it takes a lot of finesse and time, and I don't really notice that big of a difference between a filmed switch and a non-filmed switch, so I'm probably never going to do it again. The keycaps that I'm removing from the board are the PBT keycaps from Glorious. It's the original set that I bought with the GMMK Pro in the first place. It's the rainforest green colorway, and I don't hate it, but I don't love it either. The gradient is just kind of weird. Removing the switches from the GMMK Pro is a lot easier if you actually take it apart first, so don't do what I did and get halfway through and then decide to take the keyboard apart. Just take it apart in the first place and pull the switches out of the PCB. If you're like me and you like taking things apart but you have trouble staying organized, buying one of these silicone mats is a must. They're like $15 on Amazon, and you can buy them in all different sizes and shapes. They have perforations for tools and screws, and they just really help me stay organized. When you finally get the case off the GMMK Pro, it may be tempting to just pull up on the PCB, but don't do that because it's connected to a daughter board through a 4-pin connector that you have to remove beforehand so that you don't damage it. There are a lot more screws here than I remember, so if you're taking the GMMK Pro apart, just be aware of that. There's the PCB screws themselves, there's 2 inverted screws in the front that go in the opposite direction, there's 4 screws for the diffusion filters on either side, and then we have all of our stabilizer screws as well. These front screws actually have retainers behind them, so when you take them out of the board, they're going to fall out of the back. So just be aware of that and make sure that you collect them when you're done so that you don't lose them. Removing the aluminum plate when you have Durock V2 stabilizers installed can sometimes be a bit of a hassle just because they like to get stuck in the plate, but it's definitely worth it to upgrade because the stock stabilizers on the GMMK Pro are complete garbage. I'm probably going to get some flack for this down in the comments, but I just used Goo Gone to get rid of the old lube on my stabilizers. It was just some Krytox that I used because I didn't have dielectric grease, but this time around I do, and we're doing it the right way. If you're planning on doing stabilizer foams, make sure that you wipe down your PCB so that you get good adhesion. Another thing to be aware of is that the stabilizer foams are unidirectional, so there's one hole that's a little bit bigger than the other, so there's one way that they can go on the PCB so that your stabs will fit. Next up, I'm going to take my tube of dielectric grease and I'm just going to dip the wires from the stabilizers in there, and that's it. I didn't do any crazy mods to my stabilizers like the Holy mod or a Band-Aid mod or anything like that. It's just the foams, the dielectric grease, and that's it. Once the stabilizers are lubed and reinstalled on the PCB, the only thing we have left to do before installing the new switches and keycaps and doing our sound test is to put the whole board back together. You may notice that I had the bright idea to put tangerines in all my stabilized switches, but I decided against this once I had tested the board out. Oof. Finally, we come to my favorite part of this entire build, which is the new keycap set that I bought from KBD Fans. They cost me about $70, they took about a week and a half to get here, but they were totally worth it. This set comes with a lot of extra keycaps as well. If you have an oddly sized spacebar or shift key or an enter key, you'll probably be covered. It also comes with a bunch of modifiers and they don't make you pay extra or buy them separately, which I was super happy to see. I was worried about the SA profile just because I've never owned SA profile keycaps before, but I find myself enjoying typing a lot more and making way less typos. So anyway guys, I am so happy with the way this thing turned out. It sounds better, it feels better to type on, and that's exactly what I set out to do, so I'm pretty happy with the results. Other than that, I figured out that I think I like SA Profile more than I like Cherry Profile. There's nothing wrong with Cherry Profile, I just personally think typing on SA Profile is a little bit easier. And that's all I got. If you got something out of this, consider going down and hitting the like and the sub button. It means the world to content creators like me. Thank you for joining me on another episode of Sam Has a Spending Problem, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.